Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the premiere of our latest episode of Coleslaw's Corner Science in Drag. I'm James Monroe. I'm the producer of adult programs at the Museum of Science Boston, and I'm really thrilled to be kicking things off tonight for this new episode. Now, normally Coleslaw and friends can be found performing live as part of our Coleslaw's Corner series in the Charles Hayden Planetarium, but ever since the pandemic hit, we pivoted and we launched this digital collaboration with Coleslaw instead that finds her in conversation with a different expert or scientist exploring a new STEM topic in every episode. And tonight's show is definitely a fun one. We have our very special guest, Martha Hopkins, who's an expert on aphrodisiacs and the author of Intercourses, an Aphrodisiac Cookbook. And she's going to take Coleslaw on a deep dive all about the foods of love. And tonight is a part of our current winter-spring season of adult programs. This is just the start. We have so much more season left to come, a new free virtual event every week now through the end of May. So I encourage you to go to our website at mos.org/adults, check out that full lineup, and reserve your spot and spend your winter and spring season with us here at the Museum of Science. Now, I need to thank our friends at the Lowell Institute for making tonight possible. Without their continued support, we would not be here, and this would not be free for all of you. So please join me in giving a huge virtual round of applause and thanks to the Lowell Institute. And finally, I ask all of you after the show to go to donate.mos.org/MOS at home and consider making a gift to allow all of us to keep bringing free virtual programming just like tonight into all of your homes. Once again, that's donate.mos.org/MOS at home. But now it's my pleasure to turn it over to my dear friend with an incredible episode. Take it away, Coleslaw.
Hello everyone and welcome to Coleslaw's Corner Science in Drag. I'm reporting live from my studio boudoir and I am so excited that you've chosen to join me here on this lovely February evening. If this is your first time joining us at Coleslaw's Corner, I would love to say hello, welcome friend. It's so wonderful of you to join us. Oh yes, I'm so happy that you're here. I'm not sure if you're aware of this or not, but Coleslaw's Corner began as a collaboration, as a live in-person collaboration, a live show if you would, inside of the Charles Hayden Planetarium at the Museum of Science Boston. Oh, it was such a fun time, and actually, this week is the 1-year anniversary since the last show. You see, we used to do them at least 3 times a year, and it has broken my heart. It's been a void in my brain. Oh yes, I miss it so much. The last one we did was called The Shrinking World, and if you were lucky enough to be there that night, you know how magical it was. Coleslaw's Corner will be returning to the planetarium live, and I just want you all to know that the cogs are turning, ideas are, piecing together inside of my brain, and it's going to be such a fun time. I don't know when that's going to happen. I don't think that anyone does, but I can say this. Wear your mask, stay at home if you can, and just be safe. Get your vaccine whenever it's available to you. I can't wait to get mine. However, I am the last priority in the world because I'm just a lonely artist. I have to be honest with you all. I had this whole thing planned out where I was going to be lying on a bed ever so sensual as if I was on a 90s compact disc commercial or whatever, but I'm not gonna torture your eyeballs. My apartment's in disarray. So just, close your eyes right now and imagine me, in some lingerie on the side of the bed, looking at you and saying, hi. Hey, I think you're pretty cute. There you go. I don't know if you could tell, but I have hearts on my face. And that's because this week, only a few days from now, is Valentine's Day 2021. Oh yes, I still feel as though it's Christmas time or perhaps even Halloween. But most of the time has just flown by and here we are. It's February. Can you believe that? Because of the oncoming holiday, we have chosen to take a deep dive into the science and history of aphrodisiacs. I will be having a very special conversation with Martha Hopkins herself, the famous author of the new intercourses, the Aphrodisiac Cookbook. You don't want to miss this. Come learn about the myth and reality behind well-known aphrodisiacs, the power that food can have on the human body, as well as some of Martha's favorite recipes.
This is Coleslaw reporting live from the Museum of Science, Boston. We have the pleasure to be joined by Martha Hopkins, the author of Intercourses, the Aphrodisiac Cookbook. I have a copy of it right here. Martha, how are we feeling all the way in Austin, Texas?
We're feeling fantastic. How about up there?
We're a little chilly, but we make do. You look fantastic, by the way.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness.
Lipstick just for you.
So, we plan on taking a deep dive into the myths and truths of the history of aphrodisiacs just in time for Valentine's Day 2021. So let's jump into what we're here to talk about. Aphrodisiacs. What does that mean to you?
Well, aphrodisiacs to me, first of all, there's what people think of historically. All these people throughout history have been saying, this is an aphrodisiac, this is an aphrodisiac, this is an aphrodisiac. The list becomes so long, it's like every freaking food that exists in the world. And for me, it really becomes about the innate sensuality of the food itself. Just the way it smells, taste, texture, sounds even, everything together combined with the act of cooking for somebody else or with somebody else, because that just says, I care about you, you're worth my time, let's get it on, And so it's in a day, today when we're so busy, everything's changed with COVID, but in general, it was like, oh my God, how are we gonna get home and get this stuff cooked? It's just like on and on and on. And food is something we have at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and maybe a protein shake in between. So it's just very, very, very ordinary thing. And so an aphrodisiac is where you take that very ordinary thing and you turn it into something extraordinary. And that's the same thing that you want to do just in a daily life with your partner. There's something there that's just, it's always there, so that's good. But you want things that are going to inject something new into it as well. And that aphrodisiacs do that.
Yes, and that's a very interesting way of putting it. I also skimmed through the book and I was reading that throughout history, a lot of foods that, resemble the human genitalia happen to be considered aphrodisiacs, such as, you saying the fig represented a vulva.
It doesn't even, okay, so it's called the doctrine of signatures. And that's when something looks like something else. They believed historically that it was meant to aid that something else. So there is asparagus, which is a phallic symbol, although too slender for any of us. But, and then, like you said, a fig. I don't know the last time you sliced open a fresh fig, but you will literally blush. Like, if I tell you now to go slice one open and you understand what you're looking for, you're going to be like, oh my God. And it's the same thing with a mussel or an oyster. It's just like petals. You're just like, oh my God, we need to hide behind something. It's just very, very sensual. It is very provocative. Like an avocado in the Aztecs had the same word for testicle. So I get it, testicle.
Oh.
But for me, it's much more, if you see that image, it's on the back of the book right there. You slice it open and it reminds me of just like a woman, that is with child, this womb. It also just sort of mimics the shape, the curves of a woman's body. It's just very, and then it's soft and buttery and luscious and it's good for you on top of that. So that's we could go down the list of every kind of aphrodisiac and either think about how they look like something else, or they were often very rare or expensive, or hard to find. Even coffee fell into that. When the spice trade happened, things started kicking because the Europeans could finally get things that they could not get before. So it would just be this luxury item. So that was often considered an aphrodisiac as well.
Which you were saying it makes the experience more special because it's a luxury thing that you don't get that often. So when you're preparing it for your partner, it's like it makes it a special moment to savor. Yes. Oh, I think I got it.
Yeah.
Wait, so Martha, can you tell me about the phenomenon known as the placebo effect?
Well, let's just say it works seriously with aphrodisiacs. Basically, you think that you're having an aphrodisiac and then you eat something and it works because you just already have predisposed your mind to think, this is working for me. And so I remember one time a journalist with the Orange County Register he was making, I think the Cornish game hen with strawberry glaze or something on the grill. And then he had a dessert he was making. And so he does the whole deal. He's making the chicken and he's like, nothing's happening. This is all false. And so then they were finishing up the making of the dessert and somebody took a bite and then things went as they do. And by the time they remembered the Cornish game hen, it was just charred on the grill. And so he's like, oh, I guess it really does work, and it just may not happen right on your time schedule. Mm-hmm. But if you think it's happening, it's happening. And, it's like this one person in the cookbook, we have all these quotes from couples that tried the recipes, and some are just silly and goofy, and some are like just lascivious, and you just never know what they're going to be. And one of mine that I like is, this is about strawberries. It's the pure excitement of the luscious scarlet fruit tempting my tongue, and his luscious tongue tempting my scarlet fruit. Don't say I didn't warn you.
Ouch, yes. Oh, I love strawberries. I never thought of them as a sexual innuendo food, but you know what? I can see why they would say that,
Yeah, and they've got the perfect little green stem. Mm-hmm. You dip it into whipped cream or chocolate, and it's just perfect for feeding somebody else. And that is also a good thing to be looking at when you're looking for an aphrodisiac, is something that is conducive to that. So leaves from an artichoke, or the asparagus, or grapes, or, Mae West, peel me a grape, this sort of thing. So you just want to be anything that's sort of interacting with your partner.
Is there scientific backing that food can stimulate sexual, intimate feelings?
Well, to that, I'm going to say kinda, but not really. Here's what happens. So let's say you take a Viagra. You're not going to just get an erection. That's not how it works. You take a Viagra and you want to have sex, and that helps you be able to have sex. And so some of the things that you're going to find in aphrodisiacs are the same thing. So like oysters are loaded with zinc, which increases testosterone. Testosterone is crucial for libido and for performance. Chocolate, we can talk about chocolate for a long time. We'll go back to that, but it thins the blood. And when it thins the blood, that allows the blood to engorge all the areas of our body that we want to engorge. In that way, you're eating food that is good for you, that is providing you the nutrients you need in order to perform well. And then if you combine that with the aphrodisiac placebo effect, I guess, where you think that you're eating something sensual, you're looking forward to this excuse to share this with your partner. It's fun, it's sensual, then these things together are going to combine for a better result.
I'm going to go off script here for a moment. So, is there a specific recipe in this book that is your favorite and maybe something that you've used multiple times within your life since writing the book?
Well, yes. I would not call it a traditional aphrodisiac. For my husband, it sealed all deals, and like he loves it, loves it, loves it. And I made them for him last night, and that is biscuits. So I'm going to get back to the point that you don't want to be loading up on carbs, and we'll get there. But I mean, he loves his biscuits, and when I make them, whatever I need, I mean, whatever, he's like, great. And so, you know, it's homey and it's good, and you can use honey on it, which is a strong aphrodisiac. You can use any kind of jelly or jam. It's sweet, it's sticky, it's yummy. The butter's just like dripping off of it. And if you only have one biscuit as opposed to 3, then you'll have the energy. You know, it's not going to overwhelm you and make you just want to go to sleep from a carb rush. So that would be what I would. That's been most successful for me.
All right.
But in terms of just, I don't know, there's so many recipes that I love. One is like grapes rolled in almonds and ginger, and you, it's just great because it's just like a finger little bit niblet that you can feed each other, and the grape just sort of pops in your mouth, and it's got the creamy cheese, and then this zippy sugary ginger, and then the almonds, and it's just this one little morsel. You know, you don't have to have like reams of aphrodisiacs. Like what a you can be judicious. And coming up to Valentine's Day, people are like, oh my God, I'm gonna make an aphrodisiac dinner. Let me do a 5-course meal. And they don't know what they're doing. Okay, this is a recipe for disaster on so many levels. First of all, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know how to time it. You're gonna like scramble the eggs before, you know, at the wrong, you know, I don't know what you're gonna do, but it's not gonna work. And you're gonna feel really stressed out. Well, if you feel stressed, that is not an aphrodisiac. Not only that, if you don't know what you're doing and it's terrible tasting, that's also not an aphrodisiac. So what you want to do is pick 1 or 2 dishes that you can make if you're not comfortable in the kitchen, and you supplement it with a really, you know, your favorite dessert from whatever's your favorite restaurant, or you just keep it simple, or you pick things that you can make ahead of time. If I don't know what your dinner parties are like, but mine are sort of elaborate. And by the time it starts happening, I'm like, wow, I could really use a nap. If you get to the point where it's time to eat the aphrodisiac meal and you think it's time for a nap, you've done something wrong.
Yeah.
It needs to be simple. And it's just, the whole thing is a very sensual affair. And you've not consumed anything but just protein and vegetables. And it's so good. And when it's done, you're like, I don't need dessert because I've got you for dessert.
Ooh, you said it.
There we go.
So speaking of that, other than the heterosexual sex and the queer sex, is there any difference in these recipes? Have you ever had any experiments with different types of couples?
Well, we have had all types of couples test these recipes, and I haven't noticed a difference in how effective it is among all types of couples. And I think it's just because we all inside, like, we are attracted to the person we're with, and you're just getting, as I said before, you get this excuse to kind of take something that you do all the time, eat food, have sex, but do it in a fresh new way. And that just makes it really fun. I mean, and that's the thing about aphrodisiacs. They'll meet you wherever you are. You can be on a first date or a hookup or whatever. You could be together for a year and you're still like, are we living together or what's happening? And then you could be together for 20 years and have kids and you're just like exhausted, or whatever people that have had kids for 20 years are like. But anyway, and it doesn't matter. Like, you can pull out your plastic sheets and roll around like 9.5 weeks if people still watch that movie, or you can just be doing something really romantic, or you can just be like literally setting the phone in a different room and sitting down to a quiet movie, a quiet dinner. Kids are gone, I don't know where, and you just regroup that way. So it can be hot and heavy, or sweet and cozy, and everything in between. And it doesn't matter who you are or who you're with or what you like, really.
You heard it here first. Aphrodisiacs work on everyone. If you're in the mood and you feel safe and you don't eat that much. Can we take a minute to dig into the history of the aphrodisiacs? I know we touched on it very briefly, but how long have the human race been reporting the effects of,
Honestly, best I can tell from my research, aphrodisiacs began, they were recorded the first time somebody could record data. I don't know if it was etched into a rock or what, but every single thing, you've got Casanova and you've got Montezuma and you got the church like forbidding you to eat, I don't remember what, pine nuts. The Aztecs wouldn't let the girls out when they're pulling in the avocados. Just every step throughout history, every decade, every century that we're able to look back, there are records of people believing something is an aphrodisiac and using it to what they claim is great success. So, it's here to stay for sure.
I have written in my notes that there is Hindu poems from 1000 to 2000 BC that spoke of performance enhancers. That is fascinating. That's a long time ago.
It's a long time ago. And, the recipes they were using involve like milk and honey and some spices. And that sounds really good to anyone. Do remember, honey is an anti-lubricant. I'm only telling you this once.
Ooh.
File it away. So, you could totally see that. The Bible, I'm going to read it.
Okay.
King Solomon, your lips drop sweetness as the honeycomb, my bride. Milk and honey are under your tongue. You are a garden locked up. You are a spring enclosed, a sealed fountain, a well of flowing water streaming down from Lebanon. Awake, north wind, and come, south wind, blow on my garden, that its fragrance may spread abroad. May my fragrance not spread abroad. Let my lover come into his garden and taste its choice fruits. Now, I don't know when King Solomon was up to all this, but it was a while ago, and he was totally getting some, and they have been getting some since the dawn of time. Now it's our turn.
The Bible is wild.
Isn't that crazy?
They were having sex in the Bible. Oh, yes.
Yeah. I could pull the same kind of stuff out of the Kama Sutra, but it seemed more appropriate to pull it,
Intercourses was published in 1997. Can you tell me the history of how this book came about?
Sure thing. So Randall and I, my co-author, met in college, and we love to cook and we love to eat, and we loved all those other things that you need to love in order to write an aphrodisiac cookbook.
Oh, yes.
And so I was working at Dillard's and temping and substitute teaching, and this is after graduation. And I thought, wow, this is real life because this sucks so bad. And he just said, let's do something. And so we decided to do a book, and this is the book that we did. And I lived in Memphis and he lived in Waco, and I would go to Kinko's every night, and we would work all through the night, and then we both go to work all the next day. And we did this for like 7 months straight, and then we had it on the shelves in less than a year, and everything just took off because apparently people need aphrodisiacs in their lives.
This book has continued to have an amazing legacy up until today, where it's been renewed with extra recipes and photos. Is that correct?
Yes, we have sold 325,000 copies and foreign rights to England and Australia, and photography rights all over the universe. And we did a revised, updated edition with 145 couple-tested recipes and 3 new images of food set on the backdrop of the human body, which you can replicate at home if you wish.
Speaking of these photos, I want to ask you, there are these provocative and interesting images to accompany each segment of the book, which deals with different foods. How did these photo sections come about?
Well, first of all, Randall and I decided which foods we wanted to cover that were aphrodisiacs. First, I did just overall research to find out what had been considered an aphrodisiac. Fortunately for me, pretty much everything is. So from my long list, we chose what we really wanted to cover. Then we would sit there and think, oh, asparagus, chocolate, what can we do? What can we do? So we'd come up with a concept, and then I would take my way out into the world and go find people that would be willing to be a model. And I would just say, hey, I think you'd be really great for, could I use your back? Could I use your lips? Could I use your whatever body part I needed? And almost everybody said yes. And they all showed up, and they were total pros, so awesome. And we had so much fun creating these images, and they really can all be, for the most part, recreated at home. So that's cool.
They're so provocative and creative. I love them. So inspiring.
Yeah,
I love making, using objects you normally wouldn't see to create art.
Yes. And we have one where the asparagus, we made a skirt. Now, my co-author, I introduced him to the woman who wears the asparagus skirt. And they ended up getting married, and my father performed the wedding ceremony. And so when we made that skirt, when you get the asparagus in the store, it's a beautiful green. But when you blanch it for just a few minutes, or seconds, even less than a minute, in boiling salted water, it turns a beautiful, vibrant green. So we did that, but you can't do it for too long because we're going to string it through fishing wire. And if it's too soft, it'll just cut through the wire. It did not cut through the wire. We made this beautiful little 2-tiered skirt, and that would be great. I mean, right? How fun would that be? And you come with your own aioli, go down. I used to go down the amount. Oh my God, I'm gonna blush myself. Don't use as much garlic as you would in a traditional aioli, but there's, you can just take that stem and that spear and dip it in the cream.
The more garlic, the better, if you ask me. Listen, I'm about to go to the Star Market and make myself an asparagus skirt, and I'm gonna tag you, Martha Hopkins. Oh,
Dude,
yes.
Tag me. I cannot wait. And you can, the pine nut picture, which is one of my most favorite, you can glue it to you, but you can also use something just really sticky, like corn syrup or something. You just need a little bit, just enough for it to stick.
Yeah, corn syrup.
Back in my day, everybody had pubic hair, so you would just need to pour it. Today, apparently, I hear that that's not the trend, so you could just keep gluing. You could just keep corn syruping those pine nuts wherever you want them to go. But I digress. The chocolate. This one, it was this guy, and we drizzled it on him. That was the original concept. Chocolate drizzled on the guy. Well, it looked like we'd stabbed him. So desperate times, desperate measures. I go to wipe it off. And as I do that, I'm like, oh my God, look. It's like kind of tribal. It's just like super hot. That would be super easy to do at home. The figs, we made a little necklace. I've mentioned how figs are just
the fist. You got the fist and the honey.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. And that guy's back was like totally like that. He was a fireman, and he was delivering something.
Good taste, Martha Hopkins.
Oh my God. I mean, here's his back. Muscle. It cuts in and waist to his ass. It is crazy.
Is that how you like your men, Martha Hopkins?
Well, actually, I'm not picky in that way. But, so then, rosemary. I brought some.
I love rosemary.
Right? So this is really good. Just for I'm really into tickly rubs. I can't believe I'm going to be saying this on a broadcast thing, but there we go. So, I mean, it is good for anything. And the thing is all you have to do is touch one little bit, and it's just like rosemary. You could just do a little behind your ear, or drop it in the water, like if you're going to take a bath or something like that. And a little goes a long way with this stuff, and it's fantastic. And one thing that's interesting about basil, rosemary, a lot of these things, is they have this beautiful smell. And scent is one of the most powerful things for memory, so good or bad. So if you do an amazing dinner or just something super simple with that smell of rosemary, and the whole thing around it is beautiful and pleasing or hot and crazy or whatever version of it you want it to be, the next time that person smells the rosemary, it's a sort of a Pavlovian thing. It can take you back to that experience. Just from that, you're like, I remember what happened the last time I smelled that piney scent. So use it to your advantage.
I'm about to go grocery shopping and raid the spice section and the asparagus. I might...
Right?
In the book, there are charts that help the readers choose the right food for the right time of the year or the right stage in their relationship. This is very intriguing. Can you...
Yeah, so what I did there's the various stages of the relationship. There's the times of the year, there's aphrodisiacs by the hour, and then of course the astrological signs. And so I was just looking to see what is the personality behind these signs and what makes sense for that. What are they driven by? Like, I'm an Aries, so you want something hot, spicy. So I did the come to Jamaica wings.
Ooh.
And then, there's things like the flirtation stage. I did the artichoke leaves where you feed it to the other person. It's like you're on a date or you're on just a first time or two. And sometimes it's a little awkward getting to the point where you want to be actually touching that person. But if you have the excuse to feed them in a way that's not weird, you're not lifting up a fork and doing it. It's like something that you would naturally give to them. Then it just breaks the ice in a great way. And so aphrodisiacs by the hour, I'm just looking at what works well in the morning, what works well late at night. One dish is the French toast baked in honey pecan sauce.
Ooh.
So good. And I've talked about you don't want to be carb loading and sugar loading, but when it's breakfast, you can get away with that. You've already had your night's sleep. You should be fine with this extra caloric intake. And what's great is you can make it the night before, and the next morning while your partner's still sleeping, you just pop it into the oven, and they will wake up to the smell of this baked honey, a cup of hot chocolate or hot coffee. And it's just so sweet, but it can also be so hot, or it can just be it set the stage for the day. You may have to go and do work the rest of the day and may not be able to just jump into it. But that night, you're going to remember what happened that morning.
Yeah.
And the rewards will flow.
Ain't that the truth? Martha, the viewers that are watching this broadcast right now, they want to buy this book. Where can they find the Intercourses book?
They can go to intercourses.com, but make sure you add the S, or I am not responsible for reading it.
Incredible. Intercourses, plural. Purchase this wonderful book by Martha Hopkins. It's a cult classic. It's fabulous. And you might get some good sex out of it. Hopefully. Well, everyone, stay tuned because we are going to make our way into Coleslaw's kitchen so that I can feel my Katie Couric fantasy. Good morning, America. So, yes, let me just get my apron on and we'll be right back. Oh, hello! Welcome back. We are here with Martha Hopkins. We have some of the special items that are featured in the Intercourses book, which you should purchase. The items and the book, so you can test them. So we're gonna go through these items and we are going to ask Martha if she has any special notes about them. So, shall we begin?
Yes.
Here I have a platter of grapes.
Yes, grapes. I love, they're super pop in your mouth. Give it a try. See how that goes. They're perfect finger foods. And you can make with our image, we have this giant thing of grapes that are slung behind this guy's back. Give that a try.
Oh, yes. I can totally imagine Coleslaw popping a grape into my lover's mouth. So what are some ingredients that involve grapes that are in the book?
Well, one that I love is the quail with grape sauce. So quail, if you eat meat, they're just super little cute, yummy, and you just roast them and this is moving to a new level. I love the oil and grapes. I love the ginger and honey. I love the ginger almond grape rolls that you do individually. You prepare them ahead of time and you leave them in the fridge until it's time to serve them directly.
We're gonna go right over here to Mr. Asparagus, the nice phallic vegetable. I heard that it makes your urine smell. Is that a thing?
That's a thing, and I'm not sure. I've heard two different lines of reasoning with that. The first one is that only a certain percentage of people's urine smells when they taste it. And then the other theory is that everyone's smells, but only a certain percentage of people can smell it. So I don't know which it is, but it is a thing. And if it's a thing for you or your partner, you might want to choose a different aphrodisiac.
Unless you're into that.
Unless, you're right. No restrictions here.
Yeah.
We love all smells.
With consent. Now, these don't taste good raw. Throwing it out there. Cook your asparagus, everyone.
Yeah. It's so easy. Just throw it in a hot oven for just a few minutes, salt and pepper and oil. You cannot screw this up. Very good. Very good for you.
I'm kind of into it, actually.
Yeah.
This is the opposite of an asparagus, really. It's red, it's sumptuous and juicy. Oh, yes. We're talking about Miss Strawberry.
Oh, yeah. See, it's got that perfect little green stem for feeding somebody. And you honestly don't need anything else. You can just eat a good strawberry. Or it's perfect for dipping. One recipe we have, if you want something super simple, you could, of course, make an empanada from scratch.
Oh.
Or you could just get a crescent roll and spread it out, mix the strawberries with a little cream cheese and sugar, roll it up in there and bake it. Done.
Hell yeah. We have this over here. Everyone knows what this one is. It's from Pennsylvania, Hershey chocolate.
Chocolate is a complete must. Really, since the beginning of time, it's been considered an aphrodisiac. You have Montezuma drinking, supposedly, this seems crazy, 50 cups a day with chilies in it, which actually chilies in hot chocolate is super delicious. Cinnamon in chocolate is super delicious. Casanova, all sorts of people. It has phenylethylamine in it, which provides like a sort of cannabis opioid reaction, but you'd have to have like way tons of chocolate to get that. But what it can do immediately is help thin your blood, kind of like a baby aspirin would. And more importantly, I love the way it smells, but cocoa butter is one of the fats that melts actually just at body temperature. So you put a piece of chocolate in your mouth and you just let it sit there and it's going to melt in a way that other fats might not. And it's this creamy mouthfeel, whether it's white, extra dark, milk, it doesn't matter. It's all good. I love me some chocolate.
I love chocolate. I'm having a great time with this food. I love chocolate. Coming up next, we have a legendary food. This food is made by bees, and it's called honey.
That's right. Honey is awesome. It is an anti-lubricant, but it is also, like chocolate, been considered an aphrodisiac for a millennia. And one thing I like to do is if you were to just go to any grocery store, you can just go to Kroger, it doesn't even matter, and buy 4 different kinds of honey. Every single one is going to taste very differently because they're all coming from different kinds of flowers. And this is coming from the sex organs of the plant. That's how they're able to pollinate and get this and yum. And it's just so good on anything, and I like it even better just on a spoon or preferably a finger or...
Oh! You went there. What else, Martha?
I went there.
Over here, we have our next item. I believe it's the pinola. Is that a thing? Pine nuts.
Pine nuts, like artichokes, also play very hard to get. They're in the pine cone of trees, and the most prized ones are just like way at the top of these mountains, and they're plucking out the pine nuts. That's partly why they're so expensive, but they're just buttery. They're a wonderful fat for us, and they're just good. I like them.
You can make a pesto with these, correct?
You can definitely make a pesto with those. One recipe I actually made it yesterday, is a muhammara, which I made it with walnuts, but I love it with pine nuts, and that's what I have it in the book. And that has pomegranate molasses, and pomegranate is a great aphrodisiac. And let's see what else is in it. You put in a little filler, you've got really good olive oil, and the main ingredient are roasted red peppers. So yummy. And if you're doing this for an aphrodisiac versus just a night of indulgence, you might use carrots or celery or something as the dipping thing, so that you're, again, keeping the meal light enough so that when you're done eating, you got what you need.
Yes, I follow you there. Those are indulgent. They kind of like get creamy. Coming up next, we have one of my favorite things in the entire universe, coffee.
Oh yeah. I'm a big fan of coffee, and it was historically considered an aphrodisiac because it was rare and it was expensive and it was just a luxury item. And today it's just a staple for our existence. And, you know, my husband makes me the perfect cup of coffee and he brings it to me in bed every morning. And that is just such a great way to start my day. And I'll be honest, I went out with this one guy for like 8 weeks. And we were together quite a bit, and he was a coffee nut, and we had coffee together every day. And he's like, oh, I'm gonna get coffee. And I'm like, okay, could you get me some? And he's like, sure. He comes back up, it's black. I'm like, we've gone out for 9 weeks and you don't know how I want my coffee? Out the door. That one was done.
That was
it. Straw that broke his camel's back is you don't know how I want my coffee. Right? It's a small thing.
I'm obsessed with you. Also, I need to meet this husband. Is he handy?
You know what? My first guy that I was with for 13 years was not handy. And I said, this is it. The next guy is either going to be super handy or he's going to be so rich I can hire anyone I want.
No,
so,
I meant...
on both hands.
I meant, is this husband available for screen time?
Oh, you know what? He is.
Up next, we have... a Whole Foods hipster favorite, avocado.
Yeah, and see, it makes a perfect little boat or whatever you want to put inside of it. A little salsa, a little cheese, scoops out, looks lovely. You know, when it's not cut, people believe that it looks like a testicle, but like that would seem like a really big one to me. What it looks like to me when you slice it open is just beautiful. It's just beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Eat it, right?
Yeah, this one turned a little brown because it was out for like 5 minutes. You gotta throw some lemon juice on it. Oh, heck. All right, moving on over to this little lady. A pepper. Chili.
Oh, chili peppers are really important because that fits another like classic aphrodisiac thing, something that kind of gets you hot and bothered. So if you think about, if you were to just stick that in your mouth and eat it, your blood would start sort of pumping, you might break out into a sweat, you're gonna feel flush. Okay, when else does that happen?
When you're about to orgasm.
There we go. Right then, that's right. So it's reminiscent of that. And that's a reason why it's an aphrodisiac. And you can do what Montezuma did, and he combines it with his hot chocolate.
Wow. The last items that we have today are under the spectrum of seafoods. So we have this thing, mussel, and it is cracked open. It's not cooked. What can you tell us about mussels?
Well, mussels, like other seafood, are loaded with zinc, which is important for testosterone, and that is important for men and women and everyone in between. And they're so good to me. I know, Coleslaw, you're not a fan, and that's okay. We've got so much else that you can use.
Now, this is cracked open, and I can see the inside, and it's enough to make me want to die. So I'm not going to be eating this, but I'm sure a lot of people love them. Wow, we've learned so much. And I just hope that I could have lived up to Kathy Lee Gifford and Hoda. Martha, are you my Hoda?
I am.
Martha Hopkins, one last question. If you had to come up with a dessert item or a side dish for Coleslaw's Corner, what would you do? What would you pick? What would be the main ingredient?
I would pick orange blossom panna cotta because I love it so much. It's creamy and it's got this floral fragrance from the orange blossom. And you know, flowers, they're the sex organ of the food, and you don't normally nibble on an entire flower, though you can, but this just encapsulates it. It takes no time, and it's just so pretty, served in a little champagne coupe. I love it.
Martha Hopkins, it has been such a pleasure to chat with you and pick your brain about the intercourses. Everyone, I hope that you celebrate Valentine's Day with your loved ones. And you know what? You can still eat these even if you're by yourself because, you know, whatever, who cares? Thank you, Martha. I hope you have a wonderful time in Austin, Texas. I love you. It was nice chatting with you. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, and happy Valentine's Day.
Hearts of leather, hearts of lace. No matter where I look, I see hearts every place. If apples were pears and peaches were plums, if tigers were bears and fingers were thumbs, and the rose went by a different name, I would love you just the same. Welcome back to my studio boudoir. That was a wild interview. I learned so much, and I hope you did too. And let me tell you, when I got home after that interview, I was so worked up. Oh, all that asparagus and strawberries and honey and coffee. Ooh, ooh, ooh. You gotta try it. If you're sitting there thinking to yourself, gosh, I wish I could see more of Coleslaw. Oh my goodness, I miss Coleslaw's shows. Check out every Monday on the Serve Network on Twitch. Twitch.tv/The Serve Network. It's an online show. Every Monday I host the show alongside my wonderful sisters, Violent, exclamation point, and Neon Calypso. There's an array of talent from all over the country and the world. So every Monday at 9 o'clock, you should come and watch the show. There's also shows all the time on the Serve Network of all varieties and whatnot. If you'd like to know more about that, send me a DM at Coleslaw in the Corner on Instagram. This is Coleslaw signing off. I love you so much. Goodbye until next time. Have a wonderful night. We'll see you next time.